Dan Illman and Mike Beer. The DRF race of the day for Thursday, January the 4th, race number 6 at Gulfstream Park. We're going to kick off a 50-cent pick 4 with this maiden special weight for 4 and up, going a mile and 3/16 over the synthetic surface. I think it's fair to say, Mike, nicely put, several of these horses have proven to be plodding types.
Yeah, that's true. And listen, and maybe that's more than anything else, the reason that they're looking for these longer races out to a mile and 3/16 here. And it just seems like the distance, for the most part, isn't going to be much of an issue for these horses. Trips, however, will be very important.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. Honor Gold is stepping up in class, stepping up in distance, and is likely to show speed from the inside post. He's going to be a gigantic price in this race. Scat 2 Tap was the pace setter in a turf race in New York that featured several of these horses. I'm curious to see what we get from the 3. Hazen for trainer Todd Pletcher, who was bet hard for his debut sprinting, didn't really do much running, and now stretches all the way out. I think Louis Sias is going to be real aggressive.
Yeah, I can see this horse on the lead in this race, and we'll just see how much better he can do. You have to suspect that you're going to get a much better performance out of this horse this time. But you also have the surface switch to deal with here, Dan. I felt like the number 4 Champagne Juan moving more towards the inside, a longer distance here. I think you'll see him closer to the pace.
Honor Gold is the number 1. He is the expected pace setter. He's also an 8-time maiden, stepping up out of the maiden claiming ranks. This horse was in for the dime 2 starts back at Gulfstream, got cooked up in a duel, and finished really far back. So he's going to have to do a lot better.
Just one of the horses in here was really, really hard to make a case for, Dan. He's been struggling in maiden claiming races.
He's trained by Jack Sisterson, as is the number 2, Be Well, who at least has some experience over the synthetic surface, hitting the board in 3 of 4 prior all-weather races, including his most recent start where he finished 3rd, ahead of a horse that came back to place in a maiden special at Turfway with a 72 buyer. He seems to have some tactical speed, picks up one of the leading riders in Gaffalione.
Yeah, at least steadily, I guess, moving forward in his recent starts on this surface since they moved him back up in class. Listen, I feel like he can get the right trip in this race, and the distance doesn't seem like it's a huge issue for him. It kind of feels like he's going to have to really improve if he's going to beat some of these horses drawn to the outside in this field.
Hazen the 3 sold for $450,000 as a November 2-year-old in training, made his debut late in his 3-year-old campaign, got a lot of money and just didn't run. The winner of that race looks like a promising horse. Came back to win a first level allowance with an 84 buyer on dirt, stretching all the way out, switching surfaces. Not a ton of synthetic in the family. The sire Street Sense, though, 17% with synthetic routers.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there is enough versatility, I guess, in the pedigree to not worry too much. But I feel like you just have to wonder, how bad a sign is it that this horse goes right to the all-weather surface now for the second start after really doing nothing despite taking money in the debut? He's obviously had some issues along the way as well. And now you're going to switch surfaces. He's 12-1 on the line, Dan. I mean, if you wanted to take a shot in here, I'm not going to argue with it. I wonder if you'll actually get that price.
The number 4, Champagne Juan, finished ahead of 3 of these competitors in his turf debut at Aqueduct last time out, going a mile and an eighth. Champagne Juan's the big gray on the outside here, going to make a run. You're going to see the horse in the teal silks. That's Breeze, who's sort of over and behind horses here. And on the far outside is War Officer, who's going to try to come with a run. The 5 is Scat 2 Tap, who is on the lead. All of these horses are coming back, so take your pick.
Yeah, I mean, take your pick is right. This horse, as far as Champagne Juan goes, I mean, he ran fine in here. Overall, it was a pretty clean trip. I just feel like maybe the difference this time, Dan, is I think he has enough speed to go forward here. He had the far outside post in that race. And if you go back and watch the full replay, you could see first time through the stretch, maybe Dylan Davis thought about going forward in that race, but he was definitely going to get caught wide onto that first turn if they did that. So he just sort of took him back. He had a clean trip after that, but he was running on at the end. The distance is no problem. He's well enough bred, I think, to handle this surface switch. And I think he's just going to get a better trip in this race.
Yeah, very limited data on his sire, Justify, with synthetic runners, about 10%. But it's his 3rd start of the form cycle for a fantastic barn in Christophe Clement. And again, this horse just acts like he's going to stay with some tactical speed. A nice combination for this field. Scat 2 Tap is the 5. He took that field most of the way last time out. Held pretty well to be 3rd. Another horse making his 3rd start off a fairly significant layoff. I just wonder how much upside is left after 10 lifetime starts. He can pull a good trip under Johnny V.
I worry about that too. It also just he's had some runs on the all-weather surface. It kind of feels like he's a better horse on the grass. And more than anything else, when you go back to that most recent start, Dan, I mean, I don't know, maybe you don't agree with this. To me, even though he was still hanging around at the end, to me, it never looked like he was going to win that race. And they finally closed him down at the end.
Yeah, he didn't stay as well as some of the others in here, so maybe that's somewhat of a question. Although, again, he can work out perhaps the right trip. Breeze is up next, the number 6. Now, we saw him finish pretty well in that race. It was only his 4th lifetime start. And again, he was sort of over and behind horses in the stretch. And I don't really think he had good clearance, and he still was running at the end for Shug McGahee. From a pedigree standpoint, at least there's some synthetic here. The dam won on the all-weather. She's full 2 that have won on this surface, including a full sibling.
Yeah, exactly. There's enough pedigree for this. And it just feels like he's at least figuring things out as he goes. His first 2 starts on dirt weren't good. He was very, very green in those races, though. It just feels like he's getting a lot better. We saw the stretch run of that most recent race. It was kind of hard to tell. But to me, more than anything else, this was the horse that I wanted out of that race. He was just in tons of traffic. You could see Lezcano in the upper stretch. He was trying to get to the outside there. He just couldn't get there. And he just wound up over behind horses all through that stretch run.
Well, he was stuck inside. War Officer, the 7, basically worked out a 3-wide trip around both turns. He was widest turning into the stretch, and he stayed on okay. He was beaten less than a length and a half. He's by Warfront 17% with synthetic routers. He has been the beaten favorite, however, in his last 2 races. And again, is sort of a plodding type. It's not like he has an explosive run. So maybe the extra distance will work for him. You know he's going to take some money. Pletcher and Jose Ortiz on the 7, War Officer.
Yeah, more than anything else, I just don't like that what you were sort of referencing there, his running style. Just kind of feels like he's got one gear. And listen, he was on the outside all the way last time. I didn't think that was necessarily a detriment to his chances there. To me, in the stretch of that race, it looked like he had a real chance to win it. And he just wasn't really doing enough for my liking anyway. And I sort of feel that way about all of his races so far. There's some talent here. Maybe he finally puts it all together and comes with a big run here off the surface switch. But I just didn't want to bet him as one of the favorites.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click that subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, kicking off a 50-cent pick 4, Gulfstream Park on Thursday. Mike, you're going with Breeze again. He showed some life last time out for the first time for Shug, and he spread for this surface. He just needs a little pace help, I think.
That's me too. I mean, I feel like this is one of those situations then where you either take one of the horses, sort of evaluate that November race at Aqueduct on the turf and take one of those guys switching surfaces here, or you just go for the 3, the wild card there for Pletcher. I didn't really want that horse. I took the 6.
War Officer for me, I'm hoping is a little bit of a Gulfstream move up for Pletcher. His horses seem to perk up getting down to South Florida. Maybe moving the synthetic will be good for him. But 7-2, again, I don't want to take any less for him. He's already disappointed a couple of times as the favorite. 6-4-7-2 for Mike, 7-4-6-5 for me. It's your Thursday race of the day. It's the 6th at Gulfstream. Good luck.